You got one life, for crying out loud. You might as well just give it all you got.
The Deej, Dan Jourdan.
Your daily dose of reality. Your daily dose of the Deej.
I can't believe I'm saying this, but I need my daily dose of the Deej.
I make the news. I don't watch the news. I'm a leader.
The Sales Energizer, Dan Jourdan.
Listen, don't worry how to sell, baby. Worry about why people buy. And it's fun.
You don't need a 5-hour energy. All you need is the Sales Energizer.
Just when I think it's not going to be as fun as the one before, each one gets successfully better. What's the word I'm looking for? What's it going to take to get you into this car today, huh?
And now, please welcome the Sales Energizer, Dan Jourdan.
Boom! That's exactly it. Do that. Let's do that. I am never going to get this timed right. I'm standing here like a goofball for 15 seconds with the arms. And I know you could see me backstage. You know?
Can you see me as well? Is that
no?
You know?
No.
Oh, you can't. Oh, I like that.
Yeah, that's right.
I might do something with that later.
That secret thing. I am ready to rock today. I got my sleeves rolled up. You know, that's a real, that it changes the way you act when your sleeves are rolled. You're ready to go to work. You're rolling your sleeves. Hey,
well, arms in the air. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and then I had to retuck in my shirt. I got a question for you and anybody else out there who's watching. Yeah, so when you wear a shirt, I'm wearing this shirt, but then I have an undershirt. Now, do you tuck your undershirt into your underwear?
No, that's weird.
I would think it's weird too, but
my dad used to do that. It was like he felt like that was his little life hack. He was like, son, like one of those things where birds and the bees, and then undershirt into the underwear. That was right after. That was a conversation.
Really?
Let me give you a little life hack. Tuck that shirt right into the underwear, because then it won't go firing up to your armpits when you go like this.
Exactly right. Yes. So I started doing it for that reason. With the arms in the air, you got to do. And also, if you ever, sometimes you get these catalogs in you used to get and you flip through them, and there's always the guy, selling t-shirts, and their shirt is tucked into the underwear. And so I thought, that might be the way you do it. Listen, I am not, any marketer knows something. Every marketer has what they call a swipe file. The geniuses create, but great geniuses steal. And so, you got to get IDs from somewhere. And so, that's a good life hack, because you could steal that from a brochure. But in the world of sales and in marketing, everybody has like a swipe file, of somebody else's good piece and you stole from it. Well, in the world of cold calling, I have been stealing stuff from people better than me for years. And one of them just happens to be our guest today. And I keep amazing myself with how strong my introductions and segues have become. Is that unbelievable? I mean, that
you know what makes a segue a great segue? Don't talk about the segue.
Oh, that's right.
You got it. You had it. Like it was there. It was there. But you had to talk about it.
I know. So yeah, it's the, what's it called? The third rail, or the fourth wind, the fourth camera, or. You know what they talk about?
Dimension? I don't know.
Yeah, that's what it is. The fifth dimension. All right. Well, up and away with our beautiful and excellent guest today. Please help me welcome, without any further ado, my friend Jim Duffy.
Hey there. Hey, how you doing? Hey, I've got my underwear tucked in, and so that I avoid getting plumber's butt too. So.
Oh, hey, there's an added value. We didn't know what the plumber's butt aspect.
For those.
Oh, that's right. I'm a big fan of actual plumbers. I have a newfound just appreciation and actually admiration for people out in the service business. Plumbers, electricians, HVAC, roofers, construction people. These people make the world go round, and every one of them, by the way, is a salesperson. They sell by their service. And all going along. You try to do a job with somebody over your shoulder watching what you do every 25 seconds. So, but you don't do that, Jim. Oh, look, Doug Lehman.
We're breaking it down in layman's terms today.
All right.
Do you know Doug Lehman? Jim Duffy?
I do not know him.
Oh my gosh, he's keeping it
social.
I
gotta get to know him.
Yeah, in sales. So listen, for those of you who don't know Jim Duffy, he has cracked the code for cold callers out there. He has figured out a way not only to just continually and consistently set appointments, but to the point where he gets paid real money for doing so in advance. And he has had customers. How long have you had your clients for, Jim?
I've had my clients for 7 years. I've got Grant Thornton as a client. I've got a lot of big accounting firms that I work with. And so it's all recurring revenue. And my contracts are month to month. So they can throw me out at any time, but they don't, because they get a very good return on their investment.
Yeah. So for you people out there who are thinking, oh, I just have to make leads, or I just have to, make enough dials or what have you. Jim has figured out a way, and his company goes ahead, and that's all they do for companies is set appointments, and everybody there earns a very good living. You could turn your little, cold calling SDR type of job into a real career where you could earn big money. Where do you work from, by the way, Jim?
I'm in Chicago. I work out of my house, as you can see the Irish flag behind me. So I do work out of my son's bedroom, but I've got about 15 clients around the country. And when I first started, I started in the East Coast and moved all the way to the West Coast so that I can make a long day. So when I told my wife I was starting my own business, she said, "What do you mean you're going to start your own business?" I said, "I'm going to start my own business." And I said, "I have another job offer." She says, "Why aren't you taking the job offer?" I said, "Because I'm going to do better at this." And that's what I did. And luckily it worked out.
Sales army of one, baby.
That's it. Well, so now how did you actually, you obviously worked for another company prior. What did you do? Well, tell me your job history on how you kind of got into this.
Well, I worked much of my career selling IT infrastructure services for some fairly large companies, and I competed against IBM and many of the big firms and sold what was called break-fix services. And we would repair computers, and in that day it was PCs, and so I was able to sell some fairly large enterprise accounts. Actually, prior to the Geek squad of Best Buy, my company actually did all of the in-home warranty services. So I was able to sell that piece of business, and so I've had some great success in terms of selling very large enterprise services. And over the course of time, I continued to work in enterprise level jobs. My last job was with a company called Recall North America, where I sold into the legal vertical. And so I sold one of the largest accounts that they had in the company's history in Chicago. And actually, I think the VP of Sales, Dick Sertikowski, might even be on this webcast. I hope he is.
So are you saying that before Best Buy went in-house with Geek Squad, they were outsourcing it to your company in terms of like technicians to set up stuff that they bought at Best Buy?
Yeah, it was about $8 million annually in revenue. So
wow,
luckily I made a good buck on that. And
yeah,
one of my favorite stories, though, is the year I'm at President's Club, and I'm not actually, there was one person that had a higher level of sales than I did. But when I'm at that President's Club, the president of the company, I played in his foursome. There was about 100 people in Hawaii, and we're overlooking, the Pacific was just beautiful. He said, "Well, what are you going to do next year?" And I said, "Well, I heard your speech, and you said find companies that look like the ones that we already do business with." And one of our clients was Galileo International, which has about 17,000 agents. And I said, I'm going to go after State Farm. They've got about 16,000 agents, and they have the same type of infrastructure as Galileo. Although Galileo was a travel agent, the same IT infrastructure was in those offices. And without knowing a darn thing, I said that's what I was going to do. And the next year I was at President's Club because of that particular account. I never called on them before. So I had it kind of, I began with the beginning, begin with the end in mind, so to speak. And so that was really gratifying to win that business. But I told Deej this a few weeks ago. What was really cool, I get a package in the mail from State Farm saying that I've won the business. And not only did I get the letter saying that I won the business, but behind that letter was another letter. It was the Dear John letter to IBM saying that they didn't get the business. So,
whoops.
So consequently, I told my VP of sales, Vinny Riccardi, I said, Vinny, I got these two things in the mail. You wouldn't believe it. He says, well, send them both down here. I'm going to have them framed. And we did. And it said Duffy beats IBM. And it was really kind of cool. And it wasn't the biggest account, but it was the most gratifying. That's for sure.
Yeah, a little happy accident there. I like that.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
So you said you never, so this is important. So you're actually cold calling at that time, you're cold calling into enterprise accounts.
Right. And yeah, I had my last job in the IT infrastructure services business. I worked for a company called T-Systems. So my vertical was IT infrastructure, companies with large IT infrastructure in Germany, and conversely, German companies with large IT infrastructures in the US. That was the total number of companies that I called on. So it was very narrow vertical. And so I was able to get through to CIOs of Fortune 500 companies. And I had a lot of success because I had the most voluminous pipeline of most of my colleagues. I wasn't always the greatest presenter, but I was always 5x greater in terms of the number of people in the pipeline. Companies.
And we have our first $100 word, voluminous.
Oh yeah, voluminous. It's very voluminization.
Well done.
Yes, that's good. So voluminous. So quick question. I have two, and I want you to do both of them. And I call you voluminous in the kindest way possible.
I'm voluminous in a lot of ways.
There we go.
But my question is: A, does cold calling still work today in today's environment? And then B, and if you do decide to cold call, you said you got in. Who do you look for in an enterprise level account? Who are you trying to contact?
Well, today my business is not based on enterprise accounts. It's mostly high level litigation attorney firms. So what I did in the past, although it certainly helps me with what I'm doing today, I'm really working on working with litigators, top litigators.
So you mean attorneys? Okay, so
attorney. Thank you. Yeah.
So if you're calling on a big attorney firm, who are you trying to reach?
Every single attorney that does commercial litigation, because my clients are forensic accountants, business valuation experts, and economists. And so their customers are the litigation attorneys. And each one of these forensic accountants has different subject matter expertise. So I might have one that has expertise in intellectual property as it relates to the music business. So Bob Dylan has a problem. Somebody's copying his music. He goes to his attorney. His attorney then goes to my expert who will do the calculation of those damages. And so what I do, and what I do with all of my clients, is I've got about 50,000 attorneys in my database. Is I thin slice parts of their biography out of their background, so that when I talk to them, I have some very good talking points. And I use a high speed dialer, so consequently, I can dial 75 calls in just 75 minutes, basically. What? And maybe even an hour, but the bottom line is I can get more live conversations, but once I get that live conversation, I've got to be able to talk to them in a very sophisticated manner. Where's the things again? I need those. those streamers against it. Use sophisticated.
Wait, sophisticated. Okay.
Although that,
Yeah.
But anyways, so
you'll always get the confetti when you ask for the confetti, Jim. That is 100%.
Okay, so when I do get that person live, I have to have a very good talk track. But just think about it. I'm doing 75 calls in an hour. How can you prepare for 75 calls and have the right talk track? Well, I take bits and pieces of their unstructured data, their biographies, things that they've written about themselves, things others have written about them, and use that as part of the talk track. So I get on the phone with somebody. I'll make DJ the attorney. I'll say, my name's Jim Duffy. I work on behalf of Deej, who's one of the foreknown experts in white collar crime. He'd love the opportunity to talk to you. And the attorney will inevitably say, can you tell why are you calling me? And I'll say, well, Pat, I see that 25 years ago you were second chair on the John Gotti trial. And all of a sudden, that tension just comes out of that whole conversation. He's like,
that's amazing.
Says, how do you know that I did that? Well, I've done a lot of research on you, and Dan actually, handpicked you as somebody he'd like to speak to, and he'd love to invite you to the Union League Club for lunch. And so,
what are we going to talk about?
You know what? He's been
a busy man.
He's been involved in some of the top white collar crime cases. Actually, he's been deposed by the number 2 at the DOJ. So you guys have some people that you have in common, and Dan really can help you in some of the cases that you're involved in. And I've seen you've been involved in some pretty prominent cases.
Oh, so he's another expert witness that I could work with.
Not only is he an expert witness, but he's probably one of the top 3 in the country that does this.
Oh gosh. And so, okay, good. And then you set up that appointment.
Yeah. And I usually don't get as many questions as what you just gave me.
Oh, really?
And the reason I don't is because I talk about them. Once you start talking about them, then that conversation, that internal conversation, their head goes to them. They're like, this guy knows about me. And you've really changed the biochemistry of that person that you're talking to. Because
it sounds as if your secret sauce is finding the right person and having that information about them prior to the call.
Well, and every single person in my database gets screened. So I've got 50,000 qualified candidates. Now, are they ready to make a purchase or buy something right at that point? They may or may not be, but that's why we have nurturing campaigns. But you do want to get your foot in the door. They have the propensity to use a forensic accountant 3 or 4 times a year, so they're going to need them. It's just it may not be now. But so what I'm trying to do is A, intrigue them about the person that I'm working with. B, compliment them about all the things that they've done as it relates back to what my client does. And that really is the secret sauce is talking about them. It's not even talking about my clients. It's talking about them, because that hits really the amygdala and the dopamine, all the dopamine uptick that takes place when you start talking about somebody changes.
If he says serotonin, I'm going to explode right here. You got to do more confetti. He actually used dopamine and amygdala.
Well, you know what's going to happen is he's going to be bebopping, scatting, and connecting them like a voluminous dopamine.
Yeah, that's right.
Or like it's going to be like, the Scrabble. You must be a Scrabble super world champion, Jim. Is that your jam?
No, I'm not. I'm actually pretty bad at it, but
okay, all right.
I can't spell worth a lick. So, I got the words, but I just don't know how to spell them.
Yeah.
Vocabulary.
Neither can I. Or spell check. That's what it is. Well, so that's money. So, but how do you, I guess that begs the question for somebody who's selling, computer software or managed services, or, they're calling into companies who do they, in your opinion, want to reach out to? What level?
Well,
the CEO?
Obviously you want to reach to the highest level, but again, those people have stories, and really what we're doing is we're adopting their story. So if it's a guy who's an IT, say, let's just say the most antiseptic, let's get some confetti, person who's an IT person who really, is hard to talk to, is very introverted. Again, you talk about the projects that they've been involved in. Hey, I see that you did a very large project of add, move, and change services 10 years ago, and you used a Six Sigma process to facilitate that. So again, whoever you do need to know where the target is. And usually if you're in a particular sales job, you do get to know what level you're supposed to be at. Okay. Now, that being said, it's also good to find somebody that's lateral or above that person. So the lateral person becomes your coach in the strategic selling nomenclature. So in other words, you talk to this guy who has nothing to do with this guy, but knows the organization. You start talking to him and you make friends with him, and then find out what the org chart is. That he tells you everything, and then all of a sudden you've got all this information going into that call. So like with the State Farm example that I gave you, I knew a State Farm agent that knew all the things that were going on at State Farm in Bloomington, Illinois. And one of the biggest problems they were having was that IBM was very arrogant. They said, you got to do it this way. They were very condescending to the people at State Farm. And the bottom line is they had just won the RFP. So I come in 6 months later. There's no RFP. And I knew everything about what was going on with them and IBM before I entered that room. So having a little intelligence on the front side really helps. And not only did I had a Gartner report on our company, and it talked about the Galileo account, which was the one that I talked to my president about. Had that right in that. And I said, you got to look at that Galileo report in Gartner and how they selected us. And it's a very similar type of infrastructure as IBM, as State Farm. And so they said at the end of the meeting, they said, we just awarded IBM about 6 months ago. We still like to kind of keep tabs of things. And so I left the meeting. I knew that I had made a good impression, and my sales manager said, you're going to do business with these guys. And 2 weeks later, I got a call, and we went through about an 11-month process and finally got to the end of the process. And we brought them down to our facility in Dallas, and we actually brought in some of the stakeholders from Galileo, and actually the person who was the CIO at Galileo participated in the meeting. And it was a great end to that meeting because the people from State Farm asked our contact at Galileo, why did you choose BankTech and who did you do business with before? And of course, our guy was well prepared for the answer. And we did do this work. So he said, BankTech was very accommodated, that they built their SAP program, integrated it perfectly with our systems. And not only that, they just were very flexible. And that was his answer. And then he said, and the company that we used to work with was IBM.
Oh, gosh.
So it was like, and then all of a sudden there's 8 heads on the other end of the table, and I see them all nodding, and I'm like, game, set, and match. It's over.
Well, that's really interesting. But that process, so they had just signed something 6 months before, and then it took you 11 months to close. So basically, IBM had that contract for a year. Was it a multi-year contract? Did you have to cancel that contract, or did you just wait it out?
They did have to cancel the contract with IBM, and it was really funny when they left our meeting in Dallas. They were heading to IBM to cancel the contract. So
yeah, so that is, that's just instructive to anybody out there that these things take a long time. The payoff is huge, but it all started from initial cold outreach.
And it all started from just thinking about, hey, this would be I'm at a president's club, and I said, I think State Farm would be a good, and I thought about it when he was making the speech. I'm like, State Farm's just like Galileo, that would be a good one. And now, I'm not saying things go like that all the time, but that
Sure.
all the ducks lined up and things worked out very well. So I was very fortunate, and it was very gratifying. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. So Jim,
Actually,
a lot of what you're talking about is preparatory, and it's totally key. Like you have to be able to talk about them, like you're saying. You have to know those nuggets and be able to ask questions. But can you talk about once you're in it, once you've gotten that pattern interrupt? They know it's a cold call, right? They know 5 seconds in, this is a cold call. Or if you're like Dan, you're just going to tell them, hey, this is a cold call, which he does at some points. But talk about that once you're in it, once you have gotten that attention, once you have hit the dopamine, voluminous endorphins, or whatever we're talking about, and you're in that conversation. Where is it going from there? Because the prep work got you to the point, right? But then that person's going to follow up with other comments, other questions. Like, how important is that once you're in it, that second level, if you will?
Okay, the second level, I asked for the appointment almost like immediately. So even without that discussion, Chris, I'll say, Dan would really appreciate the opportunity to meet you at the Union League Club. Would it be feasible to meet the end of March? Then I use the old salesman's trick of you don't say anything after that. And it's not a trick. It's just it's a communication process where you stop talking and letting the person answer the question. And that becomes the pressure that happens. And many times I get a yes right from the get-go. But sometimes, Chris, when they want to know more, well, I'm calling a particular vertical. So like I've got 45 different personas in my business, and I know each one intimately. So I know almost every question that they're going to ask me. And so I have the detail behind what my clients do, what they do, what their background is, and some of the cases that they've been involved in. So I've got case studies for each one of these folks. And because I'm working in one particular persona, I don't have to rush and try and go through all these different case studies. I've got one case study sitting right next to me. And so I'm prepared for that same conversation many times over. So that's the way I organize things in my call set. I organize them just like a persona in an email campaign. Same process. So I'm calling one type of person. I'm calling an intellectual property attorney focused on the music business. Mm-hmm. So I've got stories about that persona. So I'm prepared for anything that they throw my way.
Now you got to understand how many would you imagine? How many cold calls have you made in your lifetime?
I've made over 1 million dials in my life.
Wow.
Yeah, it's 1 million dials. So when he says he knows everything, it's because he's been doing it so long. But here's the thing: you're calling attorneys. Not so easy to get on the phone. They generally all have secretaries. How do you maneuver that situation to speak with the person in charge?
Well, you know what, Dan? There is a lot of direct phones with litigators. And the reason for that is that they think they're going to get a case. But in terms of working with the admins, though, which more than half of them are I'm dealing with either a receptionist or the admin. You just tell the same. I tell the same story to them that I tell the attorney, and they're like, "Well, that sounds like it's something important. That sounds like something he should hear about." So that person, the administrative assistant, the receptionist, if you come across with, okay, get ready for the confetti with some gravitas, you're going to be able to push through to the next level. And it's just a matter of showing up in a way that, hey, I know what I'm doing. Not rude, not overly aggressive, but just competent,
Yes. So by the way, that's the most important thing that he said right there, right at the beginning. When you give your pitch to whoever answers the phone.
Yeah.
And I as a business and mergers and acquisitions, I used to do all the time, and I would call a certain size of business. Let's say they're doing $2 to $5 million. I know the owner is generally working in the business. Whoever answers the phone, okay, hey, this is Dan. I wonder if you could help me. I'm a business broker here in town, calling to see if you guys might be interested in selling your business. Now, I could be saying this to somebody who's delivering mail to the place. I have no idea. But the first thing that they say is, I don't know. You need to speak with the owner. Boom. And here it is. I just ask a question that they can't answer, but I'm being honest. And then I get to the right person. And so that little bit of advice gets you through to everything. By the way, just today, you talked about pipeline earlier. You say you have about the biggest pipeline in the industry of people who fit your target market. How did you develop that pipeline, and how long did it take?
Well, again, I started with nothing. So and the way I was able to get my business is through the same way I help people get business. I cold called folks. Now, believe it or not, my first account was in the forensic accounting world. I actually got a referral from one of my clients who said, you got to talk to this guy. And then once I got into that business, I said, this is all I'm going to do. I really like this business. It's interesting. And, and so what I did is I said, okay, I've got a 12-hour day to work. So I can start on the East Coast. I'm in the Midwest, and I can work all the way to the West Coast. So I continually got clients in each part of the country so I could keep working the entire day, 12-hour day. And I did that initially because I didn't have anything. And my wife was saying, you better get some sales, man.
That's good. Now, you have a very unique type of way to earn. So you tell everybody how you get paid. What do you sell, and how do you get paid?
Well, I don't know if I want to get into all of the particulars on that.
You don't have to give numbers, mister. Just the pattern.
Okay, so I have clients where I set up a number of calls that they'll do on a monthly basis with me, and I charge them a fee for that.
So you charge them a fee for an appointment, but completed appointment. So this isn't somebody who's selling leads and you just get some leads to call. It's an actual appointment, but that's when setting appointment, you don't even get paid for. It's just after they complete the appointment,
right?
You get paid. That's the most beautiful. Talk about getting paid for what your deliverables right there. And so, based on how much they could earn from that client, you have a perfect, if someone can earn, 20 grand from that client, you can charge accordingly. Like Chris Stone, he charges, 10,000 each one of these videos, 10 grand. But it's because it has such potential to grow. So
Jim, how much on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you love cold calling?
I would say I'm not like Dan. I would say it would probably be a 5.
Really?
I'm not saying I love it. Here's what I will say is the methodology that I use brings it to about an 8. But if I was using the traditional method where I was making 100 calls on this phone all day long, it would be a 2.
Yeah.
Because just think about it. Here's the notion. You're making cold calls and you get a hold of 4 people in 8 hours. And
you want to kill yourself.
And 3 of them are not qualified, and one says they're not interested.
That'll beat you down.
That's a rough road. But I talk to about 25 people a day. Okay. And so I'm able to talk to maybe 25 is a little bit of an exaggeration, but let's say I talk to 15. Mm-hmm. Now, all of a sudden, those dopamine hits are hitting all the time because
they're voluminous.
I'm pretty good at what I do. And B, I'm getting more of them. So just the analogy that I would say is you're in a batting cage. Okay. Could you imagine being in a batting cage where you're up to bat and all you did is wait for the pitch and it never came? You'd be pretty tired. You'd say, this batting cage sucks. Okay. But now you're in a batting cage where you're getting balls thrown at you all the time. You're getting live conversations. The critical feature and what many manager would say, hey, what are you saying, Jim, that's so magical or mystical? And I said, I get more conversations than anybody. So in every job that I've ever been in, I've had more conversations with people. So if you have more live conversations with the people you seek to serve, you're going to make money. Unless you're really bad at what you do, then you're going to lose money. But it's about, and really when I first started in sales, I wasn't really good at cold calling. In fact, I got fired from my first job. Well, that became the motivation for me to become great at cold calling because I went the other way. I became obsessive compulsive where I was doing 300 dials a day. And that was not easy. And I don't think you could ever say that was great. But what I'm doing right now, the method that I use right now makes it so much more pleasurable. And I'd like other people to find out about how I
can you teach that to people?
Absolutely.
How?
Well, I think
do you have a PowerPoint that you could show me?
I do have a PowerPoint. Maybe we should wait do we have enough time to go through this, Dan? It'll take a while.
We have all the time. We have all the time in the world if you're going to be dropping these gold nuggets and like $100
I want to get paid for it. I want to get paid.
We're just smarter. Oh, okay.
What are your stats?
It's been great, Jim. See you later. No.
Let me just give you just a little bit of. I'm not going to go into the PowerPoint. What I will say is, the critical feature of what I do is using technology, people. That's me, and technology, process, and people. So you've got to have all three of those elements to really make things work. So I use a tool called Phone Burner, which gives me high speed of dials. And then I use offshoring people to help me pull information about all the people I seek to serve. And then I'm a curious person. I know about what they do. I read about what they do. All of my clients, I learn more about what they do. So it's a continuous process of learning your client. So when I get a new client, I'm not as adept as I am on day one as I am on day 90. So what I would say to anybody who's going to be good at cold calling, you're going to be good at that first day, but you're going to be great 90 days from now because you'll know more. But that doesn't stop you. You gotta kind of go through the pain of learning things and not be intimidated by using the phone. And I know Dan's never intimidated by using the phone.
I tell you, I tell everybody, it's my favorite way. It's the cheapest way that you could start from zero and move to something. But and I like making calls, and I do it every day. I can't wait to finish this so I can get on my phone burner and start again. I'm a big fan of the burner, by the way. Jim Duffy introduced me to the burner, and I'm like a burner fanatic. It's the greatest thing.
I always thought burner phones were what criminals got. Right?
Yeah, that's right. Well, that's again.
I have that wrong.
Well, he is from Chicago.
The phone burner. The thing that's good about the phone burner is it's an actual ring. It's not like you're waiting for somebody to pick up the phone and then you get there. When they pick up the phone, or when the phone starts ringing, you're just waiting for them to answer it. You see their biography. That's where all that unstructured data comes along. And then you can prepare for each call. So I'm really in kind of like a total focus mode when I'm on the burner, because if you're not paying attention, you're going to be in trouble. So I might have 90 calls in an hour. And that's an exaggeration, because if I'm talking to people, I won't have 90 calls. I probably have like 60 dials. I have to prepare for each and every one. So I have to really pay attention. So at the end of the day, I'm very tired because I've prepared for every single call that I've made in a very short period of time. But you need to do that burner in order to get the number of live conversations. If you don't get the live conversations, cold calling is hell.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
he's
about
right.
getting the reps in. It's like you could use all kinds of software, whether it's your proprietary software that you've sort of cobbled together, or something like Phone Burner, or in anything. But like if you don't do the reps, you can't just magically be have this amazing conversation. I'm sure you've had some some classic failures, right? Some classic fails that you learned from, right? Using Phone Burner and using those things. Do you have any stories that some things that maybe you learned going through this process that might help others that are watching or listening?
Well, I would say that by the time I was using Phone Burner, I was on like about 550,000 dials. So I didn't have too many fails with Phone Burner. But earlier in my career, oh my God, I'd have so many times where, particularly when I was doing it the old-fashioned way, where I'd get to the 74th call and then voicemail, and somebody picks up the phone. I'm like, oh, I got to talk to this person.
Yeah.
So it's like, and that's the other thing of being in the batting cage. If you're in the batting cage, you're going to get pitches. You're on your toes. Whereas this way, you're kind of flat-footed. You're just like, oh, when is somebody going to answer the phone? You have that inside talk track in your head that's kind of negative, because you've made 74 calls and 65 of them are voicemails. It's like, well, it's hard to stay motivated when you have that drudgery going on. So I've developed a process that makes it a lot less painful.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, you do get those. I'm not going to say it because I don't want to get too. You only have so much confetti here, so.
Oh no! Listen, we're just smarter. Just joining the show here. Are you kidding me? My vocabulary went from 2 to 5. That's
right.
So
that's it.
you asked for it, you get it.
The intergalactic phosphorus has been remunerated with the phosphatic modes that are interjected through the different capacitors and relationship occupiers. So my thing is, you mentioned voicemail. Do you leave messages?
No.
You see, after all, tell me the reason behind that.
Because it's wasting time.
Now, so here's the thing. Many of those calling systems, including Phone Burner, has a little voicemail disposition button. So if if you find out that it's going to be a message, you click the button, it leaves the message, you're already dialing the next number. So
that's true, but here's my reason for not doing that. And it would be very easy for me to do that. It puts you in a cul-de-sac. Okay? So I call 75 people of the same persona in a day. And then a week later, I call all of the people that I haven't reached. So if I'm leaving a voice, if you're leaving a voicemail and you're constantly calling back, you become the annoying rep. So
that's right.
I don't want to be the annoying rep. So I'm just the guy that for the first time they talk to me and they're like, wow, this guy really knows what he's talking about. And 6 out of 10 times they say yes. So why would I leave a voicemail and actually make my chances even less to get that person? So I'm thinking long term here. I'm thinking about that person who's I leave the voicemail to, and they're like, I heard from this guy multiple times. I'm going to shut up. I don't want to talk to you anymore. I want them to look at me as a valued person when they talk to me, and they're like, this isn't like the other guys that just, all they do is they call and 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 they leave these voicemails one after another, and it becomes irritating. I don't want to have that position of how they feel about me.
But you see that he said, Chris Stone, that it was a waste of time, but now the real answer comes out. He doesn't want to be annoying.
I've also figured out a way that we're going to make our audience even smarter. And you're testing, you're testing me as a producer today. I'm starting to put up definitions of words just so people understand what a cul-de-sac is.
Yeah.
I have yet to get to voluminous, but it's coming. So if nothing else, Jim, we could provide the value of cold calling as well as the value of adding to your vocabulary. So thanks for that.
Yes, that was cool. So now, okay, so you don't leave a message and you go further, but then you call them back again. So what are your stats? How many? Yeah, I guess I don't care about dials. How many contacts? How many appointments can you do, or can someone be expected to do in that time frame?
Well, I think if you're if you're good at cold calling right now, you can probably go from 2 or 3 to 6 to 7 calls a day.
2 or 3
appointments to 6 or 7 appointments a day. Or if you're just getting 1 appointment a day, you probably can go from 1 to 4. So every market is a little bit different. So I'm not going to say that there's magic in what I'm doing, but what I would say is if you're in a really tough market, you're going to 3x what you do using my system. So you're not going to do X a number. I'm not going to promise that you're going to do 7 appointments in a really tough market, but you're going to do 3 times more than what you're doing right now.
So how does somebody get a hold of your system?
Well, they can call me at 708-629, maybe, I don't know, 708-629-9333. They can also go to my website, which is litigationconnection.com. They can also, on LinkedIn, Jim Duffy at the Litigation Connection. Certainly you can find me in a lot of different places, and I'd be glad to help people. And Danny's helping me, so he's the promotional guy. So I got each for helping me out here. He's done a nice job. And Chris, wow, this is terrific.
Is he not the pro of all pros? Is what he goes to. Yeah. So this is a system that you've developed by yourself, 100% due to experience. You've tried everything, and this works better than anything.
Well, here's what I would say. I do have great admiration for the Jeb Blunts, all the Mark Hunter, all those guys that have been in the business, and they made a lot of calls in their day. But I would posit that I've probably made more than them combined, because that's all I've done is made cold calls. So I think I have a body of work that is pretty large, and there's not too many people that have made 1 million dials in their life.
That's right.
Do you get like a trophy or a plaque for that? You should. Yeah. Like the Million Dial Club or something, like you get a solid gold dial phone, the ones
I think you get a tomato phone. I don't know.
Well, so along with that, people think that you even mentioned it, that you think it's annoying that people do that. Have you ever run into anyone at an event or a supermarket or anything out there, and somebody came up to you and said, "Jim Duffy, you're the guy. You're the bastard that keeps calling me all these time and leaving messages"?
Never.
Have you ever had anybody do that?
Never.
1 million dials and nobody even remembers.
Never.
And that should remind everybody that it's not a big deal to go ahead and make a call. Their lives are so much more, busy. They've already forgotten about you as soon as you've hung up the phone, and they've moved on to other things.
The thing I would say is you got to believe in what you're doing too. So,
yes.
So if you have a sincere belief, and you can go in with all sincerity and candor and just say, I believe in what I'm doing, that makes the difference, because you can't go in there half-hearted. If you're half-hearted, they'll see it, and if you're on a call and you look like this, you're going to sound like that. So smile.
Yeah.
Enjoy your day.
Yeah. That's very important.
I love that.
You can adjust by I was talking to someone today about enthusiasm, and it's the difference between making the sale and not. You know, all sales is a transference of energy, and you transfer positive energy or negative. But even worse than that is just to transfer almost being apathetic about it, being just medium, being nothing. You know, sometimes people get on the phone and they're cautious. And so you're trying to model what they are feeling like as they're speaking. And if they're cautious and you start acting cautious, so, you know, so based on what you saw, do you think that could work for your business? Versus, so based on what you saw, can you see how this would be, you know, helpful to your business? By saying it with enthusiasm the second way, even though I'm asking them yes or no question, there's no option for no. When you use that type of enthusiasm. So it's just the changing of your voice makes it happen. So the smile is an incredibly, you know, easy fix for you to do. Right? There's a couple of easy things. What are some like ways that you prepare yourself for the day ahead, you know, to make that first call? Because even me, the first dial, you know, the first, you know, button press, whatever.
It's all about getting started. You're right, Dan. And sometimes, and I don't want to overemphasize this, but what I'll do is I'll randomly select a few of the people that I have in my call thing and look them up and get excited about them, you know. And what I'll also do sometimes, and here's, Dan, where I will use the voicemail. When I first start out, I will, because I know phone systems left and right, I'll call somebody and I get voicemail, and I'm just trying to get the pump primed. So I'll leave my pitch, my pitch on voicemail. Yeah. And I'll cancel it. Okay. And I'll do it again. And I'll cancel it. And I'll do it again. And then I'll start. You know, so I'm in the phone system. So, and then I go to the next one. So at least I've kind of almost rehearsed what I'm gonna say. So I'm kind of getting from, oh man, I don't really want to do this, to, hey, I'm ready to go. You know, it's almost like people that are exercising, you know, or football players. They don't just go out there and play football. They're stretching, they're doing all those other things. So what I do, and I don't do this all the time, but when I'm feeling kind of grumpy, I do that because I know I've got to get my mindset right and get prepared to put on a happy face, so to speak.
That's right. Yeah, it's real important. I have a little mantra to get myself pumped up and stuff like that. Do you have a mirror in front of you? Yeah, I did the arms in the air. Doesn't it change? Look, he put his arms in the air and he automatically smiled. I'm telling you, it's life-changing. Do you have a mirror in front of you? A lot of people do the mirror thing.
Well, I did that before, and one thing I'm going to do, and Dan, I think do you have a stand-up desk, Dan?
Chris Stone does. I'm standing up at one now, but my regular desk is a sit-down desk. But I got to get it.
I'm going to get a stand-up desk because I kind of think of, like a Winston Churchill always would, make speeches in front of, and he's standing up, and and that guy did not have confidence, but he practiced so hard that he brought the confidence out in himself.
Winston Churchill didn't have confidence. That guy is the epitome of it. He
had depression, and he was able to overcome it because he forced it through. So yes, everything that you saw above the surface looked great, but he had a lot of challenges, but I think that's what people think, is that all these people that are confident that they don't have problems. Well, everybody has problems. It's just, how are you going to address them, and how are you going to push through those things?
Yeah. Well, if you want to know problems, I got to tell you about Chris Stone. I mean, he is about.
Well, you didn't notice this, but I tried a little pattern interrupt. Now I'm standing. So
all right.
I just took completely different energy right now.
That's right.
So I'm going to have to talk to Chris Stone about the stand-up desk. I think that's probably what my next move is going to be.
I might have an Amazon link for you.
All right.
How many things do you buy on Amazon a week, Jim?
Nothing.
Okay.
Oh, wow. My kids buy it for me, so
okay.
I've got great. Look at me.
He's
trick answer.
Old school. Look at him.
I go to Sears.
I'm
Yes.
no, yes.
I love it.
What did he say?
You gotta go to Sears Roebuck. You like the old school, like you get that catalog in the mail, you know, like start going through.
I every once in a while will go on Amazon, but I'm not a real, I don't like shopping. I'm not a shopper.
I'm telling you, he's an old school dude. He's out there just hammering away, making things happen. This has been an absolute pleasure, Jim Duffy. So if you have, you're actually to the point, you're not even looking for new clients, are you?
Oh, no, I'm always looking for new clients. So I think that there might be quite a few forensic accountants on this stream. And the other thing that I help those clients do is to find their addressable market too. So I can help them find their addressable market, put them in a database, and do all the things that I've said. They could even, if they have a salesperson, I could teach them how to do that and show them how to do it and build their addressable market for them as well. So that's another thing that I do that I really love is figuring out what is the ideal customer for each one of these clients, and then finding those people. Because if you're calling on the wrong people, you could be the greatest salesperson in the world. It doesn't matter. You've got to call on the right people. So having that the appropriate addressable market is important. So hopefully I didn't talk too long here.
The people that do use you, and again, many for 7 years, are seeing appreciable results. I mean, what other avenues do they use to get new clients aside from you?
Well, one of my clients actually used bar associations, and they fired all of them across the country to use me. They got rid of every single bar association membership because they were getting a much higher return on their investment with me. But what I would say is there's a lot of different ways to, like once you meet somebody, you can't stop that conversation. So continuing that conversation on a digital basis is a great idea, because you got to continue to nurture that person. And you can do that through LinkedIn. You can do that through digital marketing and email marketing. Wherever your client is where you want to be. So as things change and evolve in any market, you got to make sure that you're ahead of what the buyers are at. So the buyers dictate what channels they're going to use, whether it's the phone, whether it's email, whether it's LinkedIn. I believe in all of them. I'm not one of these guys who says, well, everything else sucks and the phone's the only thing. I think everything works. It's just a matter of figuring out which model works. Now, one little last nugget here, I work with a guy named Sean Cease, who's a great guy, and his company will actually call all of these people in the database just to see who answers the phone. And what does that tell you? That tells you who's using that channel, so because there are some people that don't answer the phone, and you got to have a way to address that as well. So what I'd say is I'm kind of an all above guy, but I do believe in the phone. I think the phone is absolutely the best channel, but it's not the only one.
Well, that's great. Well, I appreciate you coming. Many speeches and presentations that I've kind of led with the whole idea is, listen, if you want to sell more, it's pretty simple. Talk to more people. And with technology today, you have the opportunity to really extend a 12-hour calling or a 5-hour calling spree. You could double it in effectiveness, as if you were calling for 10 hours, because you can contact more people with the technologies today. But the technology of the message plus directing it to the right marketplace and using the phone as your communication and media tool is the fastest way to success. And you can have that in any business that you're in right now. Stick around when we're done here for a second, Duff. And Chris Stone, once again, unbelievable production value like nobody can ever do. Mr. Duffy, I appreciate you just coming here, making time, stopping your cold calling to spend a few minutes with me today. And for all you guys out there watching, you're the best. I'm the Deej. Go get them today.
Go get them.